More than 26 million people worldwide live with chronic kidney disease. And while CKD is still a very serious condition, because there are so many dialysis options available, patients today can go on with their careers, watch their children and grandchildren grow up, and live the best life possible. It's amazing how far dialysis has come.
When I was in nursing school, I was summoned out of my bed at 3 o'clock in the morning to come watch a dialysis treatment. That was just such a rare occurrence.
In the 1960s, scientific research helped make dialysis a bit more common. Still, patients traveled, often great distances, to a regional medical center.
I dialyzed with someone, and so she'd drive from Modesto, say, on Sunday night, spend the night, get her dialysis on Monday, leave Tuesday morning, and have to turn around and do the same thing 2 other times that week. She basically lived in the hospital or on the road.
In-hospital treatments were, to say the least, impersonal. Patients were left alone in a hospital room, with little thought given to their comfort or convenience. Fortunately, it was during this time that a few pioneering medical professionals were researching this challenge. Was dialysis outside the hospital possible? If so, was it a better option for patients? One of these pioneers was Dr. Norman S. Copeland.
I met Norm when we were both working at Stanford, and he was director of the renal care unit there. We had a program where we dialyzed patients, taught them how to dialyze at home, went home and did that, and we could see that it could be done outside of the hospital.
Dr. Copeland's timing was perfect. In 1972, a new federal law made dialysis treatment accessible to nearly every American with kidney failure. With dependable reimbursements and a growing number of patients, Dr. Copeland could bring his vision to reality, to provide personalized care in a friendlier, more comfortable environment, closer to where patients lived.
And that's how we became Satellite Dialysis Center, because we were a satellite unit of Stanford.
In the end, Stanford decided not to move forward, but the satellite name remained. Dr. Copeland turned to a trusted colleague for guidance on how to create a new set of treatment protocols.
So I happened to be going to Hawaii for a vacation, and he said, I want you to stop and see Dr. Arnold Simpson in Honolulu and take a look at the center that they have there, which was an outpatient self-care unit. I was impressed. So I came back and I said to Norm, I think we could probably do this.
Meanwhile, Dr. Copeland and his partners were putting together the funds and the structure of the new enterprise. And in 1973, Satellite Dialysis was launched as a not-for-profit organization. This meant any money made over and above operating costs would be invested back into the company.
Norm's priority was always to the patient. What was good for the patient was what was good for Norm. And he always wanted to improve their quality of life, the quality of their health.
With the organizational structure in place, Dr. Copeland, Mary Margaret, and the rest of the team were working on getting the first center opened.
He wants to make it as homey as possible. We went up and down the peninsula, sitting in every lazy boy recliner that was available, and thought, okay, this will work well. We also wanted to have the option for patients to look at TV while they were dialyzing. So I went to Sears and saw this little TV for $159, and I said to the sales lady, I'll take 10 of those. Well, it was the biggest sale she'd ever had in her life. She was so excited.
With only 6 patients, the first satellite dialysis center opened March 1st, 1974. Located in a tiny building tucked behind a gas station in West San Jose, California, it was the first freestanding dialysis center in Santa Clara County.
When I thought back about what was that first center like, the one in San Jose, there was a smoking section. It's pretty interesting when you think about it. The only thing that wasn't allowed were cigars.
The first and many of the earliest locations were called self-help centers,
because they did everything. I mean, they set the thing up. Many of them put their own needles in. They set all the dials. They did all the checks. When they were finished, they cleaned up the equipment, put it away. We had these little stations for them, but they did it all.
I was working full time, so when they first started, it was like, I'm not learning to do your job. I already have a job. And then as they wore me down, I appreciated that it was so they could make me feel like I was in control. So when machines were alarming, I didn't have to wait for someone to come fix it. I could fix it myself.
He wanted the patients to know that their life can go on. So the more normalcy they had, the better they would do. The more they learned about their treatment, the better they would do.
Giving patients confidence and hope was always central to Satellite's personalized patient care. A patient's life had to be more than just dialysis. For Dr. Copeland, this meant patients should have the opportunity to travel. Trips to Hawaii, Alaska, and Yosemite National Park, led by Dr. Copeland and his team, showed patients what was possible. On these trips, patients dialyzed at night and had days free for new experiences.
It empowered them. You know, maybe I can do more on dialysis than I thought I could. You know, if these guys can go out there and snorkel in the ocean, maybe I can too.
He wanted you to be as rehabilitated as you could be, not to look at this as a death sentence, but as, instead of saying, you know, oh, this is going to be what I do until I die, it's what now can I do with the life I've been given? I started to view dialysis as like going to the gym, something I had to do a couple times a week to stay alive, but it did not define who I was.
The company began opening new centers just a few years later in the San Francisco Bay Area and California's Central Valley. As the patient population grew, the Satellite staff soon realized their patients did better when treated for more than just their kidney disease. Viewing and treating the whole patient consistently delivered better outcomes. So from very early on, Satellite's treatment team included a highly qualified nurse and technician, and a social worker and dietitian.
At the time that I came on board, there were many, many things that we did for patients that weren't done by anybody else. You know, we provided vitamins and minerals, we provided phosphate binders, we supported exercise programs with the YM cardiac exercise program so that our patients could actually go there and work out. Dr. Copeland hired an exercise physiologist.
This extended patient care team also focused on helping patients successfully make the difficult transition to dialysis, giving them time and added attention as they learned a whole new vocabulary and way of life.
We started this program called Optimal Start. That has been my baby for years. And when they come to us, they're also not really able to grab onto everything right away. So the social worker works with them, dietitian, nurse, and so forth. After about 30 days, we hope, 3 times a week at least, that some of this will sink in.
Another important component of the Satellite continuum of care was gaining momentum: peritoneal dialysis, which could be done at home.
Peritoneal dialysis really started to gain structure in 1978. We saw that the patients did better. They weren't tied to an absolute schedule. They could dialyze as they felt it was convenient for them.
Dr. Copeland wanted the patients to have access to this. So he came to me and said, hey, we're doing this. So give me a nurse. And he got a doctor, and I assigned a nurse, and they went off and learned how to do this, came back, and we were the second only program in the state of California to have peritoneal dialysis offered.
Satellite's very early roots in home hemodialysis and self-care, combined with new home dialysis technologies, made PD a natural addition to the company's offerings. By the late 90s, the number of centers and the scope of services Satellite offered had multiplied. That was why Satellite Dialysis became Satellite Healthcare in 1999. The new name better reflected the organization's mission, as well as its focus on treating the whole patient. Then, in 2003, Satellite opened the nation's first freestanding Center of Excellence dedicated to home therapies. Satellite Wellbound was an innovation in patient care that went well beyond dialysis treatment options. It all started with the homey and inviting feel of the Wellbound centers.
We designed them with putting supplies in armoires or, TV holders or something so it could be hidden away. It's not like a medicine chest. We covered the chairs in material that didn't look like a hospital chair. It looked like a recliner chair to try to make it look more like you could have it look at home.
Satellite Wellbound was the first company focused on two aspects of patient care: personalized self-care training for home dialysis and expert pre-dialysis wellness education.
Our home training programs are really the most robust there are. I mean, if you look at the percentages of home patients at Satellite, 23% of our patients are at home versus some of the big, large dialysis organizations at maybe 11 or 12%.
Over the years, Satellite continued to grow, adding locations in Southern California, New Jersey, Tennessee, Illinois, Indiana, and Texas. And to ensure the success of these new locations, longtime Satellite clinical staff traveled to each new region. The purpose? To ensure everyone understood Satellite's patient-centered culture.
It was an honor privilege to go, to sprinkle the dust and change them to think about Satellite and why it was important for them to be part of this organization, which I believe provides more than just dialysis.
In addition to patient care, Satellite has always been committed to building a tight-knit community made up of patients, their families, the Satellite staff, and the larger CKD community. Dr. Copeland set a great example. Long before Satellite, he was an active and enthusiastic volunteer with the National Kidney Foundation.
I'm big on community for Satellite, big on National Kidney Foundation volunteering, because he showed us not only to do things that we got paid for, but also to do and give back to the community as he role modeled for us by the way he did it.
Community service will always be an important value to Satellite. That's why each year, the staff rallies patients and their families to participate in a number of events to raise funds and visibility for those living with kidney disease. It's been more than 40 years since Dr. Copeland and Mary Margaret treated their first patients. And even as the company continues to grow, the mission and values it holds so deep will, at its core, remain the same.
And empowering the patient is definitely our ultimate objective in every case. That is our responsibility, is to give them the information and the tools to make the choices that are healthiest for them.
I strongly feel Dr. Copeland was our leader, but he has sprinkled the dust on many of amazing people I work with. I find no stranger when I walk in this building. I'm more connected to Satellite and many of my colleagues who are now my friends. Together, I believe we can do anything, and I feel that's the kind of Satellite family I have here.
Today, Satellite Healthcare staff of over 1,500 work to improve the quality of life for more than 6,500 patients across 80 centers and 6 states. Whether working in our centers, our lab, or our administrative offices, everyone is dedicated to the same goal: improving the quality of life for people with chronic kidney disease. And while it may be hard to imagine all of the lives Satellite has already touched, by keeping true to our mission and working together, the impact on our current and future patients is destined to become legendary.